Before conquering the world, Alexander risks losing everything, not because of the Persians, but because of his own father. Philip II has just subdued Greece. Power now rests with him, and Alexander looks like the obvious heir. Then, something changes. A new marriage, a potential new son. And for the first time, Alexander realizes the throne may not be his. At the Macedonian court, blood isn't enough. Power matters most. Alexander doesn't need to conquer the world yet. First, he has to win the right to rule. But what happens when his father is the one challenging his claim to the throne? Alexander is born in Pella in 356 BC, but his story begins earlier. Between 357 and 356 BC, Philip II marries Olympias, princess of the Molossians of Epirus. This isn't a private match. It's an alliance meant to secure Macedonia's western frontier and bind the kingdom to a powerful dynasty. Alexander enters the world as the product of politics, not just a household. The court he grows up in is already a machine of power. Philip, who over his lifetime will marry at least 7 times, rules a polygamous monarchy where succession is never truly secure. Pella is the kingdom's political center, but it's also where ambitions, kinships, and rivalries coexist every day. From the start, Alexander is shaped by 2 figures. On one side is Philip, wounded, pragmatic, always weighing decisions in terms of utility and risk. On the other is Olympias, an Epirot princess, devout, fiercely attached to her son. She isn't just a mother, she's a political presence, fully aware of her rank and of what her child represents. A Macedonian prince is not educated like a young Athenian. Before books, there's hunting, weapons, riding, discipline, and a constant competition with other nobles. In that world, ruling means imposing yourself. Even before Aristotle, Alexander has 2 important tutors: Leonidas, austere and severe, and Lysimachus, closer to the Homeric world. Through them, he absorbs a heroic image of himself. Achilles enters his imagination early, not yet as a philosophical model, but as a figure of greatness and pure glory. Around his birth, extraordinary, almost divine stories begin to circulate, but they should be treated for what they were: court legends useful for building prestige.
Did you know that most people who watch our documentaries aren't subscribed yet? If you enjoy animated maps and history, join our community. Leave a like and subscribe so you never miss the next episodes.
During adolescence, something begins to take shape in Alexander beyond training and drill. At court, a story circulates about Bucephalus, the horse no one can mount. The animal is nervous, violent, unmanageable. And the price, according to tradition, is enormous: 13 talents. Alexander watches. He doesn't force the horse or try to dominate it. He understands that Bucephalus is afraid of his own shadow. He turns him toward the sun, calms him, and mounts. From that moment, Bucephalus won't be just a horse, but the companion who will follow him through much of his life into the Eastern campaigns. The episode already reveals his character: a cool head, sharp intuition, and the ability to notice what others miss. Even the name, probably meaning ox head, sticks, and so does the line attributed to Philip: Macedonia is too small for you. It's perfect for building the legend, but it should be treated as literary tradition, not a quote we can treat as word-for-word fact. Soon afterward, Around 343 or 342 BC, Philip entrusts his son's education to Aristotle. The place is Mieza, not far from Pella. It's a political decision as much as a cultural one. The future heir must be shaped as a Macedonian prince, but also integrated into the Greek world. Here, Alexander studied Homer, ethics, politics, geography, zoology, theater, and medicine. Above all, his horizon expands. Macedonia is no longer the center of his world. Asia Minor, Persia, and India come into view. In these years, a core group of young nobles forms around him. Among them, Hephaestion and Ptolemy. They are companions in training before they are companions in war. In this setting, Achilles stops being a classroom hero and becomes a model for life. Swift glory, personal risk, eternal memory. The tradition of Alexander's personal copy of the Iliad, the one he will later carry with him, begins here. With Aristotle's education and Achilles as his mirror, Alexander stops thinking of himself as only Philip's son. He begins to think of himself as someone meant for more. In 340 BC, while Philip is campaigning against Perinthus and Byzantium, Alexander is about 16 and is left as regent in Macedonia. It isn't a ceremonial role. He has to administer the kingdom's center, keep order, and respond to frontier trouble while his father fights in the east. Philip's goal is clear: control access to the straits and straighten Macedonia's position in northern Aegean. Soon after, the Maedi, a Thracian border people, rebel. Alexander intervenes, suppresses the revolt, and founds a city called Alexandropolis. It's a brief episode, but politically important. For the first time, he acts not as the king's son, but as someone who punishes, occupies, and refounds. Even the name matters. It's the first city directly tied to his own. 2 years later, the decisive test comes. In 338 BC, at Chaeronea, Macedonia and the Greek coalition face each other in the clash that will decide Greece's fate. On one side stands Philip's army, on the other, Athens, Thebes, and their allies. The numbers are debated, but a cautious estimate is roughly 30,000 to 35,000 men on each side. Alexander is about 18. He isn't an independent commander yet, but he's no longer just a pupil. The sources suggest he played an important role in the Theban sector of the Macedonian line. But the essential point is this: at Chaeronea, Alexander fights for the first time in a truly decisive battle. On the Theban side stands the Sacred Band, an elite corps of 300 men. Its destruction symbolically marks the end of the Peleus' ability to stop Macedonia by force. But for Alexander, Chaeronea means something more. It's the moment his political adolescence ends. He is no longer just a prince in training. He is an heir who has already watched Greece fall. After Chaeronea, Philip stands at the height of his power. He has imposed Macedonian supremacy over Greece without destroying Athens, reduced Thebes' political weight, and in 337 BC, organized a new Greek order through the League of Corinth. Nearly all the Peleus, except Sparta, enter the system. Philip becomes hegemon and commander of the future war against Persia. In that setting, Alexander, already tested at 18, looks like the natural successor. And that's exactly when the succession reopens. In 337 BC, Philip marries Cleopatra Eurydice, a young woman of high Macedonian rank and the niece of Attalus, one of the most influential men in Philip's political and military system. In a polygamous monarchy, a marriage like this isn't private. If a male child is born from the union, the dynastic equation changes overnight. Alexander is Philip's son, but he is also the son of Olympias, princess of Epirus. In a court where bloodlines decide power, that fact alone can make him vulnerable. The breaking point comes at the wedding banquet. Ancient sources say Attalus, perhaps drunk, raises the toast that hints at the hope for a more legitimate heir, a fully Macedonian one. The line only makes sense in context inside a succession triangle. Alexander reacts violently. Philip loses control, and the scene spills into public view. The dialogue reported by later tradition shouldn't be taken word for word, but the fact is clear. The dynastic conflict breaks into the open. From that moment, the court is no longer united. On one side are Philip, Attalus, and the new queen, Cleopatra Eurydice. On the other are Alexander and Olympias, who see their position threatened. That's the paradox of Philip's success. Just when the kingdom looks stronger than ever, its center becomes unstable. The Persian campaign is close, but before the army can even depart, the king has to face an open succession crisis. After Chaeronea, the enemy is no longer outside. It's already inside the palace. After the wedding banquet, the break becomes real. Olympias leaves Macedonia and returns to Epirus, to her family. Alexander withdraws from court and spends time in Illyria as well. It's a turning point. The heir who, until recently, looked like Philip's natural successor is no longer at the center of power. His status remains, but it is no longer guaranteed. In the months that follow, father and son reconcile, but only on the surface. In public, they appear united again, while the court keeps splitting into factions. In this climate, a lesser-known but historically important episode appears, the Pixodaris affair. Pixodaris, satrap of Caria, seeks a marriage alliance with a Macedonian royal house and offers his daughter to Aridaeus, Alexander's half-brother. Aridaeus isn't the favorite in the succession, but the fact that he's being used in a negotiation at this level is enough to set off alarm. If Philip is positioning another son through diplomacy, then the line of succession can truly change. Alexander decides to intervene personally and sends trusted men to derail the arrangement and offer himself as the bridegroom instead. Philip's reaction is harsh. He blocks the negotiation, rebukes his son, and cracks down on Alexander's circle. Some companions, including Ptolemy, Nearchus, Harpalus, Arigius, and Laomedon, are driven from court. One thing is clear: Alexander is no longer just a hot-headed young man nursing wounded pride. He is already a player in international diplomacy, and Macedonia's dynastic crisis is now a geopolitical question that reaches into Asia Minor and the Persian sphere. In 336 BC, at least in public, the family presents itself as united. Philip is at the height of his prestige. The expedition against Persia is ready, and Macedonia appears stronger than ever. But the question of the heir is not resolved. Beneath the image of stability, the succession fight continues. In public, father and son appear united again, but now the real conflict lies elsewhere. Public image no longer matters. The royal house is split, and a blade is enough to change history. If you enjoyed this journey through Alexander's formation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. In the next episode, we'll see what happens when Philip dies and power passes to him. The story of Alexander the Great begins.